All these things, a lot of people, what the media starts to expose and who you are in your business, we downplay our strengths because we're scared and we don't want to fail. And what Steve and I do is have a way of confronting people on the spot and saying, are you doing this? And have you done this? And do you want that? And we transform lives literally within minutes. And now we're going to show people this is the work that we do at 2 Market Media. This is the cornerstone of how we build brands, because we hold you accountable to shit that really matters to you, shit you were born to do. We put you on the spot and fucking demand and show you the path you have to be on if you're in denial about it, or if you don't understand it, if you've never seen it. And we're going to do it live on a show.
Is your business struggling right now? You might think that it's because you don't have enough sales, but the reality is it's because you don't have the attention of the marketplace. This is attention equals dollars. You deserve more. Your business deserves more. And I'm here to teach you everything that I know on how to get the attention that you need and to turn that attention into dollars. Welcome to the Attention Equals Dollars podcast. I'm your host, Luke Nesler, where each week we come to you live from the Impact Media Studios. This show is your blueprint. How do you get attention online? How do you turn that attention into sales for your business? I, as well as my expert friends, bring you the strategies that have worked for us. And today I've got a great guest, somebody that's done a lot of insanely exciting things, somebody that's grown a lot of brands, grown a lot of businesses through the concept of getting big, getting famous, getting attention online, getting attention in general, and turning that attention into sales for your business. Today, my guest is Hank Norman, somebody that I'm proud to call a friend, somebody I'm proud to call a mentor, somebody that is a master of the media. He's a speaker. He's an author. He works with names like Steve Harvey, Grant Cardone, Matt Monero, Bill Woodich, Luke Nesler. I'm among those names. It's crazy, but you know, it is true. He happens to be one of the best media personalities that I've met. If you've seen the guy speak on stage, you might ask yourself, what's wrong with this guy? But actually, he is a genius. And he's somebody that when he gets your attention, you can't look away. He's somebody that understands how to tell a story and how to generate revenue out of that story and grow businesses. Hank, my friend, I appreciate you being on the show. Welcome to the Attention Equals Dollars podcast. How you doing today?
Hey, Luke, thanks for having me. Honestly, I had to wait to come on. I don't think you invited me until we've been working together for, almost a year now. It's hard to get on the Attention Equals Dollars show.
Well, it's funny because Carly had reached out and said, hey, when can we get Hank on? And I literally I did one of these, a face palm, because I was like, oh my God, I haven't even asked him yet. I've been so busy trying to keep up with the guests that you've been getting on. And actually I'm glad that we waited till now, because I wanted this show to start hitting its stride. And I think it has. We just had Bill on last week. You're an amazing follow-up guest. So man, I'm excited for you to bring value. For those that don't know you, and a lot of the people that follow me obviously have seen you speak on stage or seen you online, but for those that maybe have been living under a rock, who is Hank Norman other than the guy that I just introduced?
Unfortunately, we're stuck with limiting values. I'd love anybody's input on this, including yours. I'd love the feedback, because saying brand builder, I don't like that. Saying, I hate people ask me, oh, you build people's social media. I don't really do that. I don't like that moniker. If I'm at a cocktail party, when it's not with just my friends from the TV world and people ask me what I do for a living, I actually say I build self-confidence. I teach self-confidence for a living, because being in the media is about being authentic and real, and what you're up to and what you stand for. And I teach people how to do that better. So if there was a word for what that is, I would say it, but I don't think there is one.
So let's talk about that, being authentic, being real, because before you and I met, I obviously, I wasn't that client that you had to convince that he needed to get out and get online and talk. I'd already been doing that. But the biggest thing that you have helped me with is being authentic, being real, telling the shit that is painful that you don't want to talk about. Why is that important? And why is that something that everybody needs to do in their marketing strategy and growing their business?
People today buy from other people that they know. Like, there's no reason to buy from somebody that you don't have some sort of relationship with. I mean, unless you're really talking about buying I would even go so I was about to make a case for a product, but even most products have a front man, whether they're paying a model or whether it's the gecko from Geico. They have a personality that you get to know. That idea is even more relevant today because of social media. If you're thinking about getting into business with somebody, if you're thinking about having that plumber come into your house, you're going to Google that person. And if they're not representing who they are and the type of work they do and the type of testimonials they have and who they are and their integrity as a person, I'm going to hire the guy I like, the guy that's personable. Like, I don't want to manage the person coming into my home. I want to like and know the person that I'm going to buy any product from. That's a prerequisite today. What's your Google ability? If you're in business and the first thing anybody's going to do with anybody is Google that. Even after I eat at a place, even if I go to a brand new cupcake shop down the street, which somehow seems to recycle in New York. I can't even remember the name of the cupcakes it was. Like, cupcakes somehow get reinvented constantly in Manhattan. And the newest version is Baked by Melissa. They're little tiny cupcakes. They're about this big. You just pop an entire little cupcake in your mouth. So you can have like 10 of them where you would eat that one big ass one. But I wanted to know who Melissa was. It's Melissa's responsibility to be the face of Baked by Melissa, motherfucker. That makes sense, right?
It makes perfect sense. There we go. Here's one of the things I love about Hank Norman. For those that are watching, you can see it. For those that are listening, you can hear it. When you start to get going, man, the energy just comes out of you and it just gets me hyped. At 10X, for those that missed 10X, you need to buy the replay. Hank comes out, he might start slow, and then you just scare the shit out of everybody with your energy and your intensity. But if you listen to what Hank says, that's when the gold really comes from it. So, all right. So Hank, one of the things that I realized through the whole being authentic, being real, and you guys really had to pull this out of me. And it's something that I want every single person listening today to understand. Obviously, I have a lot of confidence. Obviously, I'm extremely proud. Obviously, I don't want to talk about the shit that some might look at as embarrassing, but that is the reason why I do what I do today. And you're the guy that helped me find that. What I mean by that is we do social media. We help people blow up their businesses with social media, but that's not how it started. The reason I do social media is because it's what saved my business. So you're the person that really pulled that story out of me, sleeping on my office floor, being $30,000 in debt. We almost lost it all. My business partner almost had to go get a real job. And what saved us was social media. So we learned it, we perfected it, and now we help other businesses find success because of that painful story. And I was afraid for 5 years, I wouldn't tell that story. Why is that story important? And what do you have to say for someone like myself? Cardone's a great example, somebody that's obviously proud, didn't want to talk about the drug addiction and things like that. Why is that story so important for you to pull out and tell to your audience?
Well, I cheated, honestly, being a big fan of Star Wars. Obviously, when I was young, like everybody, kids today think Star Wars is brand new because all the new ones, and that's awesome. But when the first Star Wars came out and Jedi, and I was caught up like everybody in Star Wars mania, I wanted to know where that came from, why that was such a phenomenon at the time. And I don't know whether you know the story or not, but when he was writing those screenplays, he leaned on Joseph Campbell. He leaned on the basics of storytelling. And one of the first things that Joseph Campbell talks about is your story of origin. Every hero that goes out and solves problems and changes the community that they're in, which now we're back to talking about Luke's. The hero Luke in Star Wars has a story of origin. And that story of origin, his parents dying, being killed on his home planet, was the reason he had to go fight the Empire.
Right.
That story of how he was driven into battle matters because now you understand why he has to do what he's doing. Every brand has to have a version of that. The more I understand that you're compelled, not just interested, not just making money. The worst version is I'm just doing this to make money. The story you want to tell that most people have in spades, just like you, is they're compelled to do the thing they're doing. There's something in their DNA, how they came up, some shit, real shit that happened to them. A horrible event, just like little Luke on his home planet, just like little Luke in West Virginia. You guys have shit that happened to you that compelled you to act. Sharing that story is marketing. That's the first tether to you and your brand that an audience really wants to get to know. Why are you doing this? How do you have expertise? Why are you driven to understand this better than anyone else? So starting with that story is hugely important for branding.
What do you say to the people that have a hard time with what others might think? Like, man, I got this story that people just don't know. And God, I was a sex addict and gambling addict, and I was doing everything under the sun. But that's what really led me here. But I'm afraid to tell that story because of what others might think. I get that shit all the time. What do you say to those people to get them past that fear?
Well, here's the thing. That fear is real, and that fear will lose you a certain percentage of people that think that that's not appropriate to share, that does make you a bad person. But whatever percentage that is, 5, 10%, the other 90% will feel this attachment to you like they feel to no other person, no other brand, no other expert out there. Because someone who's compelled to help, someone who's compelled to be in the business that they're in, is somebody everybody wants to work with. I mean, the things nobody thinks about is that they just see Jillian Michaels on The Biggest Loser and they think, oh, it's just another exercise guru yelling at fat people. But she was overweight and obese. The reason she got to that position of national prominence as someone who counsels and coaches overweight people is because she knows the struggle. She's been there. No one else would rely on a skinny coach the rest of their from beginning to end to come and coach people that are going through weight loss. She gained credibility by sharing her story. That is true for you. You have to share your story, regardless of the pushback you're going to get.
One of the things that you have really helped me see clearly that I quite honestly, I feel like I was doing wrong before. I've always looked at social media channels as my networks, my distribution channels. But the biggest mistake I think I was making before was I was only providing value-driven information, tip after tip after tip. And it got to a point to where people didn't know me. They looked at me as the social media expert, but they weren't relatable to me. There are a lot of people that have struggled to grow their business, that have barely been able to pay the mortgage, barely been able to pay the rent, but they didn't know that side of me. So I was unrelatable. The second that I started telling that painful story and using it as my reality network, not my educational network, people started to come to me and bring that up in conversation. Hey, I heard you say, when you were sleeping on your office floor, and that really, that stuck with me because I went through that as well. That was something somebody said a week ago. So talk to me about using these channels that a lot of people have the bad habit of just using as a distraction, meaning they're just consuming shit. And even a lot of the people that follow you and the Cardones and people that even follow me, they just watch what we do and what we say, yet they never use these channels to tell their story and to get that exposure. What would you say to those folks, and what are some things that they can do to start generating content rather than just consuming it?
Well, everybody feels on some level. I do just like you do. Like, how is my story important to you? Like, that selfish aspect and forget the shame, just the idea that how is my personal story of any help to you, let alone to my brand or my company or my business? That's the first hurdle. Then comes the shame hurdle. Then once you realize you do have a story and it does kind of matter, then you're like, now if I start talking about this because I see people could see themselves in me, then comes the shame barrier. So there's two big barriers you have to get past. And then the third piece, which is probably even bigger to some degree, is this whole idea of, now that I'm raising my status, there's most people, believe it or not, Grant's not one of them. A lot of people are not this way, but most people are. Being humble and not wanting to say, I'm better than you or I know better than you. Because once you've nailed your story of origin and you start to really talk about what you're up to and how you do what you do and helping other people, and you start to see how that works, now you are positioning yourself as an expert, and it becomes the next requirement where you have to tell people, I know better. I have the answers. And people really freak out at this point because it's like, well, I'm just a simple insert your trade, your job here. And even though they have a story that makes them super relatable, there comes this time when you start giving advice that people start to see you as something else. I mean, I gotta clip it before I forget it, because I think about it, and somebody mentioned it to me on a phone call the other week. There's some post on some social media. I think it's in the 10X group. I have to find it. Some woman wrote in, so Grant had ambassadors that went to GrowthCon, and they had this side private Facebook group, and people were talking about their favorite speakers. And funnily enough, not only am I a bunch of people's favorite speaker, but I'm also a bunch of people's least favorite speaker. For, like you said, they're like, something's wrong with this guy. He's unhinged. And this one woman was like, I really liked Hank. I even ran into him in the elevator. And I was like, but I didn't say anything. And I said to her, why didn't you, we all were staying in the Mandalay. Like, I rode in the elevator with tons of people. I didn't know if there were just people from out of town or what. Like, I was just people that saw me or recognized me. I would normally say hi. And she's like, no, we rode in the same elevator together side by side. And I didn't say anything to you. And I was like, why? And she's like, because I was starstruck. Yep. And I was like, who the fuck are you talking to? Like, that's just so crazy to me. Like, that does, like, I'm not any better than anyone else because Grant put me on stage. Like, I don't feel like that entitles me. Like, I know what that's like, and I know that people have that thing, but that freaks a lot of people out. Like, when you become an expert, you have to take that whole role as it comes, that people start to really look at you as somebody who knows better. That's the biggest problem people have to overcome. You have to understand, as a business owner, you do have the answers. You are an expert. You are trying to make yourself the go-to person. That third hurdle is the biggest one every entrepreneur, every business person has to face.
Yeah, and that's crazy to me because it's funny, and it might go back to my origin story of just always wanting attention, but I've always wanted to be that person that people come up to and they're like, are you Luke Nesler? And what's funny is in the last 4 months, that has started to happen repeatedly. And in fact, so I was just at the sales boot camp for Cardone in Miami. I'm sitting in the lobby. On the final day, I'm sitting there working, and this Indian couple walk up to me, and the guy goes, are you Luke Nesler? And I said, yeah, what's going on? I thought maybe he was just at the boot camp. He said, I'm listening to your podcast right now with Brad Lee. He said, this is awesome. He's like, can I get a picture with you? It was crazy. And now he follows me on social media. He looks to me as an expert in my space, and I'm just someone like him. And I think a lot of people, number one, crave that like I do, but they're afraid to do what it takes to actually get that attention. One of the big things that they're afraid of is being hated. And I know you have a book coming out that you're working on that talks about that, about you have to have people that dislike you in order to have the people that do love you. I tell people all the time, every president that's ever been elected has those that love him and those that fucking hate him. Talk to me about that. Does that hold people back? And why is it so important to have quote unquote haters? And can somebody that's just starting on a local level have haters? And what should they be ready for when they do?
I'm always shocked at the level of hate in any given field. A friend of mine, a client of Two Market Media's, his name is Glenn Lundy. He's doing this faith-based podcast every morning at 5 a.m. called Rise and Grind. He made the local news. Like, I don't even know what number of followers he's at now for his podcast. Thousands upon thousands, growing. Like, people are rallying around this. And somebody had the audacity to write really negative things about Glenn. And it's just like, no matter, even if you're a God-fearing, helpful, loving person, people are not going to like you. You can't go into any space going, I want everyone to like me. Because just that idea alone, and here's the thing, I don't make any secrets about working with Mel, and the biggest thing I had to overcome with Mel Robbins was that's all she desired for the first year of working with her, was getting her to understand that as a brand, as a personality, your job is to stake a claim. If you have an expertise, you have a singular way of working with people, of fixing things in the world that works for you. And there's going to be people that are going to say, I don't think that works. I doubt that works. That didn't work for me. You're wrong. And simply by declaring you're an expert, you're making other people wrong. You're telling them this is how to do it. People are going to come out of the woodwork to tell you you're wrong and make you wrong and try to tear you down. It's just part of human nature. So If you get into the media game not understanding that haters and negativity are a huge piece of this, you're not prepared for the battle. So I like to start, the reason the book is called Hate Me is I think not only does it help you mentally, but that idea, to explain it to you, because I think it has profound effects on you as an individual. This idea of allowing the world to judge you as you are and speak your piece and say who you are and what you stand for, and that you'll take criticism, but you won't necessarily lash back out, that you'll listen in a conversation, you'll maintain your cool while being attacked. That's called differentiation. That's called maturity. That's called being a real well-rounded human being. And pressing record and being in the media teaches you self-confidence. The reason I can go to a cocktail party and say I teach self-confidence for a living, because the act of understanding that you can have people dislike you and it doesn't change who you are and it doesn't diminish you, and you can defend your position to somebody without getting illogical or irrational or angry or upset at them, that you just understand that that's who they are and they don't understand you. That's the biggest growth in a human being, to understand haters actually creates your full personality. You can't just be surrounded by sycophants. There is no growth there. Never.
Yeah, that's powerful. And I think a lot of people try to create content with the false positive, is what Monero would say, that, oh, this is going to appeal to everybody. Well, first off, if you create anything that appeals to everybody, it's boring as shit, and it actually doesn't appeal to everybody. But the second thing is, I'm going to be honest, and I think this is important for those watching and listening today. I could care less now if you like me or dislike me, but it wasn't always like that. It really fucking affected me. Somebody would say something negative about me to my partner. Somebody would comment something negative to me. It would ruin my day. And I don't know why. And to be honest, I don't know what I did to overcome it, other than the fact that I started to see the result that was coming to me, how my business was growing from those that agreed with me and did like me. And then I started to become proud about what I had done. And I started to realize that the more people that disliked me, the more people that liked me, and my business would grow. So now it doesn't affect me. So for anybody that's watching or listening that you're like, all right, Hank, I hear what you're saying, but man, it just really ruins my day if I make somebody mad or dislike. I was the same way. It would ruin my day. I would stew. I would go back into my business partner's office and say, Jeff, why the fuck would they say that? You get over it. And I think the way you're going to get over it is how you're going to get good at doing video. Like Hank, you always say, you've just got to hit record. You've just got to do it. I think it's the same thing with building up that thick skin to the negativity. Do you feel that way, or do you think I'm crazy and saying you just get used to it?
Yeah, it's a muscle. It's 100% a muscle. I mean, I'm here. It really started for me because Mel got angry at me so many times because she had that. And we had a radio show together on AM radio. And one time she unplugged, we were in the middle of a show, a live radio show on the air, and she unplugged the show from me because she thought I was attacking her personally on air, her business partner, her co-host of a radio show. And I've just never had that because I've always had this thing in my mind. Like there's different attacks from different people. Like if a stranger types something in Facebook, we don't know each other. Why would I give that weight? Like the example I always give to somebody is if you're walking down the street and a homeless person yells at you that you're fat and ugly and stupid, does that upset your day? Like what weight are you giving to the source of that information? And so only when you give that person credibility in your mind do you allow that to affect you. And I've never thought people understood me. So even when I heard, and this time more than ever, I had a little bit of a different message this year. The first GrowthCon, I only got positive reviews. I didn't get anyone telling me they didn't like me. This year at GrowthCon, I got a lot of people telling me they knew of somebody or told me directly they did not like me. They didn't like my message. They didn't like what I was saying. And I was like, and I took it at the level of I'm interested. What parts don't they like? Because if I'm not talking about things that are important and they just don't understand me and I need to be more cognizant of my message, then I'm interested in having that conversation. I want to have that conversation.
Yeah.
If they're at a level of their maturation in the media where it literally just sounds like noise to them. I need to take that into consideration when I'm talking because I want the biggest audience possible. But
Right.
I'm not necessarily hurt. I'm not hurt at all. And I'm also not necessarily going to change because I'm like, I got to figure out, it helps me figure out who my audience is. So I don't have a personal attachment to it because I've just done it for so long that I don't really care what people, like, what do I care that somebody's up? Here's my final word on this, Luke. If somebody's mad at you, they just don't understand you. That means they're telling you you're wrong because based on how their world works, they don't see the value in what you're saying. So I either then take the time to say, can this person understand me? Or are they a crazy person and they just want to be mean? Is that their thing? Or do they really not understand? And should I take my time to explain them? And in all honesty, 8 out of 10 haters I can convert to lifelong fans.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I'm going to be honest. When I first saw you, I definitely wasn't dislike. It was, I couldn't figure out who is Hank Norman? What's this guy all about? I couldn't get a clear read on it. The more I would see you, with other people, then I started to really see what it was about. And then when I finally found the content to where you told your story, which I think was the 10X, the first 10X, you told your story. That's when I was like, all right, I get it. I click with the guy. And, then we started working together and now we become friends. So, I think it's a lot of, if people don't understand your full story, they're also going to hate on you. But if you can get them to know your full story, I think you will convert more of those people from strangers, haters into fans of you. Do you agree with that?
So I'll answer after you tell me the reason so you first heard videos of mine and the delivery was abrasive or what? So what didn't you like at first?
No, it wasn't that I did like it. It wasn't that I didn't like it. I couldn't figure out, number one, I was like, all right, what does he actually do? And number two, I couldn't get past the energy. I love when you get excited, you bounce in your chair, and now I've come to love it. And maybe it's because I'm ADD, but my vision stopped there. I was like, man, this guy's high energy. What did he just say? And then when I finally found that piece of content to where you told the story about your dad and wanting to be famous and, making the cracked up jokes about your jacked up teeth and all this stuff, then I resonated with it. So it wasn't that I disliked it, but I definitely wasn't getting the full story because I was getting hung up on certain things that I think some people dislike. I think some people just don't like the energy. And it's the same thing with me. People are like, why are you talking with your hands? And first off, I'm fucking Italian. And second off, I've got a lot of passion and energy around what I do because I care about it. And I think a lot of people get hung up on that and don't hear the full story.
So I like the first thing you say because it's very important. When you don't know what someone does, like you don't have the context for what you actually do, and there's no name, like even you're in the shady zone of like, what do you really do? That idea of what do they really do? That skepticism, that is your job. That is my job to clean up and have people understand as readily as possible. What do I actually accomplish for my clients? That is a big thing. And then the second thing you said is exactly how we started the show. Your story of origin, who you are and how you came to understand and master this material. We've mentioned that 3 times without thinking about it, how important that is to know someone's full intention of a person and why they are to be trusted with the information they have. That's what closes the deal. That story of origin is vastly important.
Yeah. Hank, talk to me about back in the day. So you were, I see clips that get dug up of when you were part of The View, and you could talk about that because I don't think maybe some of this audience knows how heavily involved you were with that. But back when I see the long-haired, ponytailed Hank Norman on The View, very quiet and just mouse-like almost to the guy that he is today, to where it's just energy and it's just raw emotion. How did we go from that to where we are today? How did you go from being in the TV business to helping these people build their confidence and really, whether you want to say this or not, grow their business? How did you get from there to where you are today?
It's a story like everybody's. It's the parable, the one you just said to Grant's, to everybody's. I was a TV producer and not in front of the camera out of fear, out of not wanting to be judged and putting myself out there and trying to get better at doing that. And at Oxygen, so yeah, I was part of the pilot for The View and worked at The View for years. I was part of the startup for the entire Oxygen cable network and just ended up randomly on air when somebody didn't show up one day. And I was on air every single day on a live television show on Oxygen for about 2 years. So the media training I got was every day was on live TV. And it was literally the exploration of me allowing myself to be myself on camera and not care what other people thought.
Right. I love
That's the journey. And that's what I teach. That's what I'm trying to help you with. That's what I'm helping Grant with. I mean, Grant would not be filling stadiums with 10,000 people if he wasn't sharing who he is and his story and his struggle, because we're there because we see a bit of ourselves in him. People are buying from you. They buy your advice. They believe you're credible. They buy in because they see a little bit of themselves in you. If he can do it, I can do it. If he's done it and learned it, he's credible. He's been through it. That's when you say you finally even bought into me. You're like, oh, I see why this guy's doing what he's doing. When the story is finally told, you get the trust of the viewer, of your client, and that's the foundation of your business.
Yeah.
That's my story. Learning to be myself on camera.
So now you're taking your story, you're taking the things that you do with people like me, people like Brian Cristiano, Monero, and all these guys, and you're making it accessible to people that might not be in a position to bring you on at the capacity that others do. You've made yourself really, I guess, within the last year to 2 years, so accessible to really anybody with the Star Power courses, the Star Power Club. Now you have a new show that you and I believe Steve's going to do it with you as well, the Media Mentalist. Talk to me about, I want to talk about the show, but talk to me about why you started to bring your education and your knowledge down to pretty much everybody, because I see what you're doing with the people in the Star Power Social Club, and it's changing people's lives in there. And I've watched them from the day you started that group, which is how we met, to now. Why are you doing that? So
what you're witnessing from me, and I just got off a phone call, which is so funny because I do have this conversation quite frequently, which is, how do I only have 6,000 followers on Twitter, but I'm on stage at GrowthCon in front of 10,000 people? I'm just like you. I'm just starting to grow my brand using the media. I'm not Gary Vee. I didn't start as a YouTuber and learn how to make media work because I was in the media. I've taught the media to the media's biggest stars. So I've been using and honing all these things I share with everyone because I built networks. I've built more networks than anybody in modern history. Literally, I'm the Mark Burnett of networks. I am a media mogul behind the scenes. And now I'm just starting to do that for myself. I'm starting to take the same tools, the same journey, the same press record, the same vulnerability, and pointing it towards myself. And I'm just starting to build my online following for myself and my company and my brand now, which includes my first book, just barely coming out, my second e-course, because I did GrowthCon twice. If it wasn't for GrowthCon, don't even know if I'd have a first e-course yet. I'm just building myself in accordance to how I treat my clients. I'm eating my own dog food for the first time in my life.
I love it. Well, that's how we ended up meeting. So I'm glad that you're eating your own dog food, because it's changing a lot of people's lives, including mine. And I'm grateful for that. Talk to me about the Media Mentalist. I'm excited to learn more about this. What is it? Is it a show? I see people have to sign up to be on it. Talk to me about it.
So this is and I'll take you behind the scenes. So the Media Mentalist is me and my business partner, Steve. And one thing I teach people that's in my Star Power course that I try to get clients to do, people want to see what you do. They want to see what you're up to learn who you are and why you're an expert and why you're proficient at your job. I tell people to record you doing you. Show me your process. Show me if you fix people thus and thus. Show me how you fucking do that. Show me that. This show is the first real version of something that Steve and I have done for years. We do every day. We do with every new client. We do with people at a bar that I can take someone, he can take someone. The fun is that we yell at each other and we disagree, and it's fun, the banter between the two of us. But as a company and as people in the media business, I can fix someone as a brand, as a human being in under 5 minutes. We can take their entire lives, figure out who they are, what they should be doing, tell them exactly how to brand themselves. And it literally looks like the reason it's called Media Mentalist, and I know it doesn't really make sense, but it will once you see it in motion. It's like John Edwards. It really is guessing people and making them answer and then putting them on the spot and saying, and really making them live up to all these things. A lot of people, what the media starts to expose and who you are in your business, we downplay our strengths because we're scared and we don't want to fail. And what Steve and I do is have a way of confronting people on the spot and saying, are you doing this? And have you done this? And do you want that? And we transform lives literally within minutes. And now we're going to show people this is the work that we do at Two Market Media. This is the cornerstone of how we build brands, because we hold you accountable to shit that really matters to you, shit you were born to do. We put you on the spot and fucking demand and show you the path you have to be on if you're in denial about it or if you don't understand it, if you've never seen it. And we're going to do it live on a show. You're going to be blown away.
Amen. You saying that it's exactly what you've been doing with me. So I'm excited for the world to see that, because man, when I say what you guys have done for me and in turn my entire business, it is game changing. I mean, I'll say this live on air. I owe you a video testimonial, but a couple of months after we started working together, we doubled our sales. And that's a lot, right? So, and I've been trying to do that for several years, and the smallest little of things make that happen. Hank is the brains behind the Inside Impact internet reality show that we have putting out. We're getting ready to drop another episode this week. I mean, it's you saying, show me you doing what you do is such, it sounds so simple, but so many people overlook that because they have no idea what, we're these social media gurus, but what does that actually mean? What do you guys actually do? Because my sister is in college and she's a social media major. So doesn't she do the same thing? No. And the only way I'm going to do that is to actually show. And I mean, you just said exactly what you guys have done for me in a reality show. I cannot wait to see it. So,
but let's tell the real story, Lukey. You and I have cried together on the phone, uncovering what you've been through to get here.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. I mean, I think the only people that have seen me cry are probably my mom and dad, my business partner, my wife, and now Hank Norman. And absolutely. I mean, it's you uncover the hard to talk about shit that makes a person who that person is that they don't want to talk about. And it is magical to see it, and it will transform your life. Hank, people need to follow you. They need to see your shows. They need to be on your courses. They need to read your book when it comes out. Where can people get more Hank Norman?
Because I'm an old person, I'm still strangely hyperactive on Twitter. So at Hank Norman I'm constantly tweeting all day long on Twitter. And then I'm trying to get better at Instagram because I know everybody went to Instagram. So I try to do 1 or 2 or 3. I have a little mini free course that I'll send you if people want to take it, called 15 Seconds to Fame, how to use Instagram stories as a way of building the muscle of being in the media in that 15-second window. You can get clear and concise in a 15 fucking second video, dude, and you're really pounding the foundation of what it is to become a media star. So I'm also obviously on Instagram as much as I can and on Facebook. But I think if you Google me, you can find me. But if you really want to get to me and where I'm, for some reason, I still think it's important until it dies, is Twitter. So.
Yeah, absolutely. What's the link that they can go to for the course so that people can get involved with that?
Well, if you go to hanknorman.com, it'll all come up on my website. All the everything that I have is available there.
Awesome. Listen, guys, for those watching live on Facebook and YouTube, or those listening on iTunes, Hank is the real deal. If this is the first time you've heard of Hank, the first time you're hearing what he's talking about, the first time you've thought about some of the topics we've covered, I strongly suggest that you add his content to your rotation of what you're listening to and consuming every day. When I say he's changed my business, when he's changed my life, he really genuinely has. I'm not blowing smoke up his ass. And he's just one example of the people that we bring to you on this show. Again, if you like the content that we brought you today, if you like the stories that we told, if you found this helpful, the way that you can help me reach more people on iTunes, I need you to rate, review, subscribe, share this with a friend. The more people that see this, the more people that we can help. Facebook, you can like the Luke Nesler Facebook page, share it out to your friends, tag Hank in it, let everybody know who he is. And then also on YouTube, be sure to subscribe. Hank, man, I'm looking forward to doing more stuff with you. We're going to be in New York. There's a rumor of a football game going down that I might be a part of. So I'm sure that my community will be seeing and hearing more of you. And man, I really appreciate you being on the show today. It's a pleasure.
Thanks, Luke. I appreciate you, my friend.
Awesome. We'll talk to you soon. Is your business struggling right now? You might think that it's because you don't have enough sales, but the reality is it's because you don't have the attention of the marketplace. This is attention equals dollars. You deserve more. Your business deserves more. And I'm here to teach you everything that I know on how to get the attention that you need and to turn that attention into dollars.